Hello, anyone that's watching. My name is Bill Hoy. My website is naturallawwithbillhoy.com. And I'm going to talk about the underlying causal factors that are causing the problems here in America, whether you want to think so or not. Just because your particular political puppet is in the White House doesn't mean that things aren't going very bad for all of us and the future of our children. So, to underlying causal factors, the initiation of physical harm to others is inversely related to levels of freedom in societies of intelligent beings. As the initiation of physical harm increases, freedom decreases. Try to tell me this is not true. Try to tell me this is not true. We're going to get to that in the next slide. Physical harm is murder, assault, rape, theft, trespass, and willful lying that results in physical harm. To initiate physical harm is to aggress towards others without provocation. Physical harm does not change by calling the behaviors different names, euphemisms. Tell me this is not true. Try to tell me this is not true. Taxation is theft, extortion, and coercion with the threat of violence, as well as the carrying out of violence depending on the level of noncompliance. Try to tell me this is not true. I please, somebody message me and tell me this is not true and show me your argument. An initiation of aggression is an act that violates a person's property, our bodies, what is in or on our bodies, and our time and energy spent are our property. Millions of people in the U.S. work for institutions that initiate physical harm towards others. I'm going to get to that next slide. The corresponding result is the loss of freedom. Try to tell me this is not true. I want to see your argument. Other underlying causal factors, the belief in human rulership. When a human ruling class exists, it has to have violence. When you have a human ruling class, the violence is there. It's just there. Politics is violence, government is violence, statism is violence, period. The belief in money is a primary value. Try to tell me people don't value money over refusing to initiate harm. Try to tell me this is not true. Try to tell me this is not true. And then we the people destroy ourselves. Please try to tell me this is not true. Please try to tell me this is not true. I am not a conspiracy theorist. Try to tell me this stuff is not true. I am not theorizing. I am not fucking theorizing. Let's continue. All right, here we have the machine. The machine that just keeps rolling on. And on the top, you have the drivers of the machine, the politicians, their media mouthpieces, and the people above them who control them. You have their distractions. Okay, so the machine, the IRS and the Federal Reserve with the American employees working there, rolls on every day. And you have the drivers of the machine with their distractions, like Candace Owens versus Erica Kirk, Ben Shapiro versus Tucker and Megyn Kelly. Charlie Kirk died for your sins. Didn't you know that? Candace Owens versus TPUSA management. She's telling truths. Of course, they have to tell some truths, folks. Okay, Marjorie Taylor Greene versus Trump, Trump versus Mandami. TPUSA is a Christian organization. That's a laugh. JD Vance and Erica Kirk together. Wow, like that really fucking means something. The left versus right, that's the big one. But the machine rolls on. The machine is separate from the fronts. You have the IRS with the American employees just doing their jobs, and the Federal Reserve with the American employees just doing their jobs, and you have the initiation of physical harm. The initiation of physical harm, which leads eventually to the loss of freedom. So let's start with the IRS. You got the American employees, Americans destroying Americans. The initiation of physical harm. These people during their daily activities on the job are participating in the forced theft of Americans' hard-earned money. The penalty for not paying is eventually violence and theft of rightfully owned property. The employees work for an organization that projects the attitude that Americans owe this agency, crime syndicate, their money. This goes on every day unabated. The initiation of physical harm, now the loss of freedom. Americans have to surrender their hard-earned money to other American employees of the IRS. Meanwhile, Americans can barely afford to pay their living expenses. Americans do not own their bodies, yes. When somebody says, hey, you owe me money for the work you did with your body, they own, and and we allow the initiation of violence as a uh, as a result, they own your body. We don't even own our own bodies. Try to tell me this is not true. Try to tell me this is not true. Let's go to the Federal Reserve. You got the American employees. Yes, Americans doing this to Americans. These are Americans. The politicians, they're just the drivers. They're just occupying your mind with the bullshit. With Trump versus Mandami. Wake up. You got the initiation of physical harm, Federal Reserve. These people, during their daily activities, Americans on the job, are participating in the devaluing of the dollar. This makes everything more expensive. These employees support printing money for operations that initiate violence and cause suffering to Americans and people in other countries. This goes on every day unabated and uninterrupted. This is separate from the fronts. Try to tell me this is not true. Now the loss of freedom. Americans can barely afford to live because of these Fed employees. Basic items continuously become more expensive. This is all fraud. This is fraud. This is a crime. This results in many other taxes increasing in costs like property taxes. There is no way to achieve any wealth because money and savings loses value every day. This is fraud. This is an initiation of harm and you get the loss of freedom. Try to tell me this is not true. Try to tell me. I want to see your argument. Politics is the problem, not the solution. Number one, working within the confines of the political voting system is not going to work. Politics is division, division that is controlled by the Federal Reserve cartel, the oligarchs, the surveillance state, Israel, and the dark occult. The people, the spectator dupe voters, are led into a particular side. Originally, the fracture on the right was genuine, that's what I think. Tucker, whether he intends to or not, becomes a part of the ruling class's strategy when he takes a side in the left-right paradigm. Tucker doing a lot of good things, but when he takes the conservative side, he's favoring the ruling class. The idea is to fracture away from politics. Okay? Number two, the third party strategy will never work. If any third party is allowed to exist, it will be compromised. Most likely a combination of the left and right or an overt takeover by the oligarchs. You got Elon Musk there. A lot of people think, oh, Elon Musk, he has the money to start a third party and compete. But that's going to be an oligarch takeover. Time to wake up, folks. No one's coming to save you. Number three, there are still too many people who believe in human rulership. During the scamdemic, most Americans thought that complying with immoral mandates was the right thing to do. And you have a large number of Americans that think, just like this clip that I pulled from a critique article of my article that I wrote in my local newspaper, Freedom versus Tyranny, We Have a Choice. And this was a rebuttal. I forget exactly what this person was talking about, but that's not completely the point. This person says in his critique article, I think he wrote, I forget what the title of it was. Something, have we lost our minds? I forget what the fuck it was. He says, yes, I deliberately chose to go there because much of the talk of tyranny revolves around the federal government deliberately trying to keep people healthy, well, and grounded in reality. Folks, there's easily 25 million Americans that think exactly this. Probably another 25 who think something like it. Probably another 25 who think sort of like it. Probably another 25 who may think a little bit like this. You got 100, and that's 100 million. And then you got another 150 million who believe in human rulership. And you got what we have here today. And I'm telling you right now, if they tried, if the ruling class kicked off another scamdemic, it will work. Okay? And anyone who thinks that the federal government exists to keep people healthy, well, and grounded in reality is not grounded in reality. Okay? So, number four, there are still too many people willing to take money or earn a paycheck to do evil. Good intentioned people participating and supporting evil for money. And there you go. That's your federal government deliberately trying to keep you healthy, well, and grounded in reality, filling the sky with absolute filth and pollution. U.S. military pilots filling the sky with absolute pollution. Let's destroy all life on Earth for a paycheck and a pension. Because, hey, they got bills to pay. So let's fill the sky with nanoparticulates, massive pollution, changing the weather, blocking the sun, changing weather. That's a change in weather. When you block the sun, that's a change in weather. Destroying Americans, destroying Americans. These pilots destroying not only other Americans' lives, but the lives of their own families, their own children, their own family members getting dementia from the very things they're doing, filling the sky with aluminum nanoparticles for a paycheck and a pension. All right, that's it for this video.